So now we are about to hear last 6 presentations of today's program. Then there will be a lunch, which is a good news too. But now we are about to start the last block of this year's TUM with the Team Compliance Alliance from Technical University of Munich. They deal with textile waste. Come here, it's yours.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Yes. 92 million tons of textile waste are produced every single year worldwide. That's around the size of the Mount Everest. So we are basically producing a mountain of trash every single year. But what are the consequences? We are not just wasting textiles, we are wasting water. Because with the water that we need to produce those textiles, we could give drinking water to 90,000 people for 1 year. So how are we going to solve this issue? Currently, the EU Commission is developing the digital product passport. And this will mandate all textile companies inside the EU to disclose environmental characteristics of their products to promote circularity and improve transparency for the customers. But so far, there is no standard calculation method to calculate the recyclability of a textile product. And this leads to a lack of comparability and transparency, because every company can use different methods. And that's why we have developed our own comprehensive recyclability index. It has a holistic approach to ensure product comparability and to make sustainable choices way much easier for customers. That means if the European Commission implements this index in their regulation about the digital product passport, textile companies have to use this regulation to stay compliant with EU law. And additionally, by increasing the traceability and availability of data, the intention is to make the move to a circular economy way easier. So we provide the solution, but we can only reduce this mountain of textile waste if we can submit our solution to the European Commission and create an alliance of circular compliance on the EU level, because the European decision process is very complex. It involves a lot of policymakers and a lot of stakeholders. So we have to build this alliance to finally integrate it in the product passport. And if it will be integrated, this will have a huge impact on all textile companies within Europe and therefore boost sustainability along the entire value chain. And how our index works exactly, Visesh is going to explain you.
Right, thank you. Right, so our standardized recyclability rating index is based on research of academic papers as well as of the French law AGEC, which has been very successful in mandating suppliers make certain disclosures. Every single one of our components is based on scientific calculations. So what are the components? One is the access to collect waste efficiently. 2 is the industrial scale for recycling the product. 3, the energy consumption of the recycling process. 4, recycling material as part of the product. And finally, 5, absence of any material that limits recycling. The 5 components are then given a weight of 20% each. Based on the 5 criteria, a final score is then calculated of the product, and it is then color-coded into a rating scale from A to G. To give you a concrete example of one of the components and how it's calculated, take this chair as an example. During disassembly, if this chair were to contain any impurities or mixed materials, such as varnishes or foamed plastics, it would then make recycling very difficult, giving it a score of 0%. Now, to actually visualize the index, you can see the score that the product has received on each of the 5 components. Adding them up, the chair has received a score of 45%, placing it on the D category. We have the final rating scale, but what does that mean for you? Take a second. Imagine you're at home, shopping online, and you have to choose between 2 chairs. Both are the same price, and both seem equally comfortable to sit on. Using our recyclability index, you can make a choice that is truly sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you have other
Yes.
team members?
Yes.
Come in front, and you are ready for the questions, I guess. Right, Jerry, fire away.
Good afternoon. It's very nice to have an information for the customer. Now, how far have you gone with any, let's say, contacts with the politics?
Yes, that's a very important question because that's where the negotiation part begins. And we are aware that the European decision process is very complex because it's very different interests. And we reached already out to the chairwoman of the Committee of the Internal Market and Customer Protection. And their feedback is already inside of this index. So we've taken the first steps, and the next step would be to enter this network of compliance to go further with it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation. It's a great idea. I just have one concern or one question would be like, is this purely like an EU thing, or how will we, I mean, if the EU imposes these things and become more strict on these things, how about the other parts of the world? Will they not just take over the market, or?
Yes, also very important question. And the digital product passport will be implemented for products that are on sale on the European market. So it's for European customers. It's a European customer solution. So also products from China, for example, which is the country, the biggest producer of textiles, also they should be compliant. But of course, this passport is on a very early stage of negotiation. That's why we have good timing to enter this now, to give our index early enough inside and give the policymakers the base for starting the negotiations.
When you look at this index, it grades the products being sold on the internet, and you can get the sense that when you have like category A, that you have the most sustainable product. Whereas the most sustainable product, for example, a sweater, might be already in the sweater you have in your cabinet or somebody else already has. So second-hand stuff is actually the most sustainable option, whereas it doesn't show up on here. How do you account for that omission? And how do you want to, could you include that in this system?
Well, at the end, the index focus on the end of life of the product. So let's say that whenever we go to that end of life of the product, you will already have an used product. So our main focus here is to see if that already used product, how easy it is with the methods and the whole supply chain that we have in that waste collection or in that waste phase to recycle the product. So at the end, all of the inputs or most of the inputs should be textile products already used.
Okay, then maybe a tip. Maybe you can collaborate with one of the French teams who really, instead of focus on the product, focus on the behavioral change.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you propose? What year will we be in this situation that we actually have the recyclability index in use? And what are the 3 major steps we need to take from now towards this date?
So your question is where we want to put our focus for the next steps? Sorry.
When do we have this recyclability index in use, and what are the 3 major steps to get to that stage? Obviously, there are many steps, but just name 3 major ones to get there.
Yeah. Yes, good question. I mean, we are ready. The index is there. It's very easy to use it. But on the European level, the decisions can take years. And that's at the moment somehow out of our hand for now. But that's what we actually hoping to be the next steps for us personally. That if we hand this to European Commission, they are gonna invite us to work on that together. And then we would be happy to be part of it. And for example, I worked already in politics. I have quite some contacts. And I would be happy to use that to form the alliance of compliance also on the European level.
We have 20 seconds.
Well, good luck.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much. This was Compliance Alliance.
Thank you.